So I guess this is condensed down to my favorite knives, I think, or most used knives. So you got the Benchmade AFO, Buck 110, Microtech Socom Elite Auto, and then Benchmade Crooked River. And then I've been out doing a little shooting too, so I've been using this to help sight in my scope. Also doing a little mountain biking, got my old bike out, 2015 Santa Cruz Bronson, because I'm still hitting snowbanks, so I figure I use my old bike. So I don't really know exactly where to start here, just something I've noticed. So this is definitely my favorite knife. I think it's the most functional. However, this is giving it a run for its money. I just like the grip on this thing, the size, the blade steel, 154 cm, the grind on it. I think it's a pretty good slicer in my opinion. Holds a good edge. Serrated for rope and whatnot, paracord or filament tape or whatever I need to cut when I'm at work. And of course the Buck 110, which is kind of my standby. This is a new one, or newer one last year. And then this, kind of a new acquisition. What I've noticed is this kind of brings together all my favorite attributes of all my knives. It's an automatic. It's got a clip point. And it's 4-inch blade, so it's roughly the same size blade, roughly same grind or same blade shape as the Crooked River. A little longer actually than the Buck 110, because this is 3 3/4 inch, 1/8 inch stock, 1/8 inch stock, and this is 1900 stock, almost closer to 1/4 inch. Very thick. However, it does have a good grind, I think. Supposedly it's, I don't know, I don't have any way of measuring it, but I do like the way it does cut. I like the way it cuts wood, and then everything else I have been cutting with it. I did bring a prop. So I've been, I got this knife, I don't know, a month or so ago, did a video on it. Immediately went back to work. We're doing some prescribed burning in the forest. And for perspective, I think not steep, not necessarily rocky, but steep and rocky enough. We were hiking 8-10 miles a day. It lasted about a week, and then we got rained out. But got some pretty good hiking in during that whole thing. And it's just not, you don't get to go hike a nice trail. It's bushwhacking the whole time, because you're carrying a drip torch and you were trying to light a fire and burn fuel, get rid of it, fuel reduction basically. But I had this the whole time. This is the only thing I carried. And I'll tell you what, I'll get in the weights of these knives too, but just on the carry, this thing is, so on the weights, I wrote it down, AFO, 5.8 ounces, Buck 110, 7.5 ounces, Benchmade Crooked River, 5.4 ounces, and the Socom Elite comes in at 4.58. So this is the lightest knife of the bunch, kind of by a good share. And it carries really well. I mean, this thing, if I have this, I always know I have it with me. Unless I really have it in my car, in a cargo pocket, tucked in the corner, I always know I have this with me. Not necessarily a bad thing, but you know it's there. You put it in your hand pocket, like your side pocket or whatever you call it, you'll know. So on this, you can see how high, this is how much shows when it's in your pocket. And then on these older ones, such as this, it doesn't really help to put it tip up. On the new ones, and this is my latest acquisition, you can see I always do tip down out of tradition, but the newer ones, the AFO2s, you can actually mount it here, and then that's all it would show. So it would probably carry a little bit better. But just because that's how I did it from the very beginning, I always go tip down. It's just how I roll. Actually, I could probably put this out here. So, I'll be fair. This is my favorite knife. Never let me down. But this actually has an edge over that in just the carry factor. It's kind of a smaller footprint dimensionally this way. It's kind of easier to put in your pocket. I think it is actually a little wider up in this area. So that there's that, but then it's lighter. I definitely don't notice this if it's in my cargo pocket at all. And I carried it that way for the first 2-3 days. And the rest of the time I put it in my hand pocket and I didn't even know. I can't even tell. Now, if you are used to carrying a lighter knife, because I've been carrying one of these literally for the last, 18 years. I think 17 years. Yeah, I got one in 2002, as I recall. And I lost it, but here a couple years ago, but then immediately replaced it. So that's what I've always been carrying, and then I've always had one of these on my belt while on fire, and then hunting for sure. But so point being, that's what I'm used to having in my pocket. This is lighter, and it just carries deeper. You just don't know you have. I just didn't know I had it. And like I said, if you're used to carrying like a 3-4 ounce knife, 3-4 ounce knife, I'm assuming you would notice. Me myself, I didn't notice at all. So pretty impressed. And then I've also so I carried it in that time, and the only use marks that you can see are the pocket clip. This was like actually from like the first day. Most of this, I don't know, you got that aluminum can kind of banging up against it every once in a while. Have done a little saw work, so I have had chaps rubbing on it, but even then, and I don't think I nicked it with the saw at all, or the dogs basically. But that's it. And then I did drop it. It's probably not gonna turn out, but there is a little rub mark here because I dropped it in gravel. And that's it. I'm just showing this because it was one of my interests. See how it wears. The black seems to be wearing pretty good, and I've actually used this quite a bit at work. So I think this is 300 psi. It's hardline fire hose. You put it on a reel on top of your truck. And for the burning, we built up a couple trucks with pumps and tanks for just extra fire protection. We had them parked just in case if anything did blow up, get out of hand, slop over. So I was using this knife because we had to like plumb the pump and plumb the reel, on top of the truck, the hose reel. So I cut a lot of this, actually, it turned out. You could cut this with a razor knife or X-Acto knife, honestly. However, you really have to be careful. You can't torque it at all, and you can like pierce it and then with this thing, there's basically like, I could just, with that awesome tip, push it in, one cut, and then come back around and then finish it off. Each cut nice and straight. That looks kind of jagged. I don't know. This is just a little chunk I picked up, so I can't even say if my knife actually cut this or not, or if it was cut with a razor blade. Probably cut with a razor blade. Anyway, so it's like, it's hardline, it's high pressure hose. It's pretty durable, pretty beefy. And then it's lined with thread. I don't know if that's cotton, nylon, Kevlar. I'm not really sure what they use, but it's tough stuff. So this thing did a great job. Another thing I've noticed about it is ergos on it are really good. I haven't done a whole lot of bushcraft type stuff with it yet, though I have done a lot of like just plain old whittling. I think it's awesome. I think it's really good. Actually, I was really surprised by that. Yeah, I haven't picked up any hot spots on this at all, honestly. And it's just kind of proper. I don't think, honestly, in the long run, it's as good, but I haven't gotten to the point where I've tested that. I haven't found the weakness in it yet. I'm just, in theory, I think this is better, ergonomically wise, just because the shape, it's nice and rounded, soft, simple. It's not quite as intricate as this. But like I said, haven't picked up any weaknesses there, so super stoked. So basically, for me, I think my point is I've kind of found the perfect knife. well, not the perfect knife, but as close as I think as I can get, and that would be this. Just because it has attributes of all these knives, it has, and then it's actually the lightest one. And theoretically, it's the best steel out of all of them too. However, I don't do any kind of control testing or anything. I just use a knife. If it's dull, I sharpen it. And then I will kind of see how they match up against each other. It hasn't really gone head to head with anything else, though, as far as whittling goes. It's just, I've done a little bit of whittling with it, and that's it. And it's still sharp. It's not as sharp as it was when I got it. In fact, if I run a fingernail, run over a fingernail, I can find little tiny little nicks in it, or rolled spots, or whatever it is. It'll cut phone book paper, but you can feel, not really catching, but you can feel it's a little rough. This guy I just got because this I save is specific for work. I don't really fool around with it. So I actually got a good deal. It's brand new, but I found a deal online. Relatively a deal. And it's 154 cm, of course. So figure I will bring this along as well a little bit. Do a little whittle work with it, because I think, and I don't have serrations on it, so I can use it like a regular knife. Whittling on wood and such makes it a lot easier for me anyway, and then to resharpen. So it's kind of the only knife Benchmade that I have currently that's 154 cm. Besides these other, I have a bunch of AFOs, but I don't really use those for that kind of work or use. So this one will be kind of dedicated to that a little bit. Plus it's cool. It's like that gray color, blacked out. It's pretty sweet. To be honest, perfect action, great grind. There is a factory burr on it. It's not the sharpest I've gotten from Benchmade. The only issue, and great lockup and no blade play at all, so that's cool, is that centering is off. Now the Apostle P did a video on this within the last year, and he has the same exact knife. In fact, watch his video. He goes really into depth. That's pretty cool. I learned a lot just by watching it, and I've had these for a long time. Because I think he took them apart and looked at the guts of it. So that helps me, because I've never taken it apart and I never plan on it. But it's nice to know what's inside. Because I've never had any issues. I've never had any reason to take these apart. That's why this will always remain. Unless I have this thing for like 20 years, which, if I don't lose it, I will. But it's got a long way to go in my mind, to stand shoulder to shoulder with that bad boy. That's just me personally. So his knife, the Apostle P's knife, had the same exact off-center to the same exact side. So I don't know, when they made the batch, maybe they all turned out that way. I did rewatch this video, and it looked like it's about the same as this. No rubbing at all. Like I said, perfect lockup, no blade play, good action. So out of all those things, I'll take off-center. That's fine. I'm fine with that. It's going to be a user. Pretty sweet though. Gray. Pretty stoked. Yeah, so favorite knives, Buck 110, clip point. Got some good heft to it, but you do carry it in the old magic sheath. And then other fave, the Benchmade Crooked River. Issue with that, it's a little heavier actually than this by 5.4, 0.8 of an ounce. Wow, that's pretty good. Get that nice. Oh yeah, one more correction. 6061 T6 aluminum, not 7005, not 7000 series, but it is 6000 series. And I did a little research, everything. If you Google 6061 T6 versus 7005 aluminum, the only thing that pops up, at least for the first page or two, is all mountain bike frame construction debates. I think the 705, I think originally was better, but I think because they were having a hard time welding the 6061 T6 there for a bit, but then now they can work with it. It's a lot easier to work with. They figured something out. So I think a lot of the bikes now are 6000 series aluminum. Most of them, I think, is preferred to work with. So correction on that. And I think for now, that's it. Just been carrying this knife, using it. It's great. I mean, it's perfect. Good lockup, good action. Solid. It's a little off center. You might not be able to pick that up. Probably wouldn't even know if it wasn't for the split in the material there where the two pieces come together, but it is. I don't even know if that's going to, so you can see that. But that's the way it was when I got it. Not as bad as that, but, you know, it's off. But you know what? It's fine. Bought it to use it. Finish is kind of coming off the button a little bit, but, you know, those are all, I mean, I've been carrying every day for work, so, you know, it's been dirty hands rubbing on it. Dirty pockets, probably. So, it's to be expected. But, you know, for anybody that's interested about the finish, the blade seems to be a bomber. I don't see any wear marks on the blade, and like I said, I've been using it. Haven't cut a whole lot of rope with it yet, though, or, you know, that's really abrasive. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Figured do a little follow-up on this. I'll do another follow-up on it in the fire season. Have a good one.